Metabolic keys. Weight loss medicines and metabolic treatments. GLP-1 medicines are not magic fat burners. They change appetite, fullness, digestion, and sometimes blood sugar regulation, which is why the results can be real and the trade-offs can be real too. Research priority. Verify current claims against US government websites for benefits topics and against the American Diabetes Association or other major primary institutional sources for diabetes and metabolic health topics. GLP-1 medicines are talked about everywhere now, but a lot of people are still trying to figure out one basic question. What are these medications actually doing? Hype makes that harder, because people end up hearing miracle stories, scary stories, and half explanations all at once. A good starting point is to understand that these medicines are not magic. They work by changing parts of appetite, digestion, blood sugar regulation, and fullness in ways that can affect eating behavior and weight. GLP-1 is a hormone the body naturally uses in blood sugar and appetite signaling. Medicines in this category are designed to imitate or extend that signaling. Depending on the specific medication, they can help some people feel full sooner, stay full longer, reduce appetite, improve blood sugar patterns, and slow stomach emptying. That combination is part of why these medications show up in both diabetes care and weight loss conversations. But their effect is not identical for everyone, and they do not replace the rest of the health picture. People misunderstand these medicines partly because the public conversation keeps flattening them into a before and after story. One side treats them like a miracle. The other side treats them like cheating, laziness, or danger by definition. Neither extreme helps. A medication can be clinically useful and still involve trade-offs. It can improve blood sugar or appetite and still require careful follow-up. It can be appropriate for one person and inappropriate for another. When you understand that, the whole topic becomes easier to evaluate without getting trapped inside hype. In real life, people often notice the effects less as a dramatic event and more as a change in the rhythm of eating. They may feel less driven by constant hunger, less pulled toward grazing, or more able to notice fullness before overeating. For someone with diabetes, blood sugar improvements may also be part of the discussion. For someone focused on weight management, the medication may create a window where behavior change feels more possible. That does not mean the medication is easy, cheap, or appropriate for everyone. It means the mechanism is more practical than mystical. A major mistake is talking about GLP-1 medicines as if they are either effortless miracle tools or dangerous shortcuts. Both extremes flatten reality. These are real medications with real indications, real side effects, real access problems, and real clinical trade-offs. Another mistake is ignoring what happens around the medicine. Food intake, protein, hydration, muscle preservation, follow-up, nausea management, and what the plan is if the medication stops or changes. These medicines do not eliminate the need for follow-up, and they do not answer every health question by themselves. They do not automatically resolve emotional eating patterns, food insecurity, muscle loss risk, or the need for an overall treatment plan. They also do not guarantee the same outcome for every person. The reason that matters is simple. When people expect one medication to solve an entire metabolic life, disappointment and confusion hit fast. A better approach is to see the medicine as one tool that may create a more manageable environment for change. If this topic is personal for you, the better questions are not just, will it work? Ask, what is the actual goal here? Blood sugar improvement, weight loss, both? What side effects are most common? What symptoms should be reported quickly? How does this interact with other conditions, including digestive issues or gallbladder concerns? What happens if the drug becomes too expensive or hard to find? That line of questioning creates a safer conversation than social media comparison ever will. A lot of online conversations treat GLP-1 medicines as if the only question is whether the drug works biologically. In real life, access changes everything. Insurance coverage can change, prior authorization can become a barrier, supply issues can interrupt continuity. Out-of-pocket cost can make a treatment unrealistic even when it is medically sensible. That matters because a medication plan has to survive contact with real life. Viewers deserve an explanation that includes the practical side, not just the mechanism side. A treatment can be promising and still be hard to sustain. That is not personal failure. It is part of the real-world context that should be discussed up front rather than discovered later in frustration. If you are trying to understand whether a GLP-1 medicine belongs in your situation, the most useful questions are practical. What condition is it being prescribed for? What is the treatment goal? What side effects are most common? How will progress be measured? What other conditions or medications matter here? What does the plan look like if cost, insurance, supply, or tolerability becomes a problem? Good medical decision-making starts with those questions, not with social media before and after stories. If you are already on one of these medicines, do not build your whole plan around the idea that the medication alone will carry everything. Protect nutrition. Ask about protein. Ask about muscle maintenance and movement. Ask what symptoms should be reported quickly. And if you are only researching right now, keep the framework clean. Understand the mechanism, understand the trade-offs, and understand that medical fit matters more than trend status. Progress should not be judged by one dramatic story or one scale number alone. Depending on why the medicine was prescribed, progress may include more stable blood sugar, reduced appetite chaos, improved satiety, meaningful weight change, or better adherence to a broader treatment plan. In other words, progress is not always visual, and it is not always fast. That matters because unrealistic expectations make useful treatments look like failures, when the real issue is that the goal was never defined clearly in the first place. The healthiest way to think about these medicines is to stay out of the two extremes. Do not treat them like miracle proof that discipline never mattered. Do not treat them like automatic proof that a person took the easy way out. Those narratives are emotionally loud and medically shallow. A better framework is this. What is the clinical goal? What are the trade-offs? What support does the patient need around the medication? And what happens if the medication changes or stops? When you think that way, the whole conversation becomes more useful. You become less vulnerable to internet tribalism and more focused on whether the treatment actually fits the person in front of you. A viewer should also understand that a GLP-1 conversation belongs inside a bigger metabolic strategy. If the person has diabetes, the conversation may include blood sugar targets and other medications. If the person is focused on obesity treatment, the conversation may include long-term maintenance, muscle preservation, and what happens if the medication is interrupted. If there are digestive side effects, gallbladder questions, or nutritional concerns, those matter too. The goal is not to make the topic feel complicated for no reason. The goal is to stop pretending one drug exists in a vacuum. Better expectations usually lead to better decisions and better retention because the viewer feels oriented rather than sold to. GLP-1 medicines work by changing how the body handles appetite, fullness, digestion, and in some cases blood sugar. That is why they can matter, but the best way to think about them is as tools inside a broader plan, not as standalone solutions. Clear expectations protect people better than hype ever will.